we venture into the stupider parts of the show. And I know what you're thinking, Hal, but we've already covered Sean Hannity and Don Jr. Clearly, we have peaked the stupid meter. Oh, no. Oh, ye of little faith. Listen to this argument. Now, you guys know that I have a bit of a bone to pick around certain issues because of my actually paying attention to these issues when other people are just like repeating what the fuck they've heard from other like-minded people. Just it's like a bank shot. They don't think about it at all. It's just in their ear, out their mouth, right? Thanks, Aaron. China continues to approach modernization without westernization, and they're getting away with it. First of all, the fuck does that say? And they're getting away with it. What the fuck are we supposed to do? Stop countries from modernizing if they don't do it our way? I don't know. I guess that's the assumption that's made here. Honestly, I take issue with the beginning of the statement. But the idea that and they're getting away with it? What? I mean, they steal a lot of shit from other countries, and us and Taiwan, especially, and Germany and France and the UK. But, and they're getting, I am fascinated by this sentence. China continues to approach modernization without westernization, and they're getting away with it. Like, we're just supposed to, our whole thing is to stop them from modernizing without us doing it. And again, I have issues with the belief that they are, much less whatever. All right, so let's see. This is gonna be good.
The United States is gearing up for a long struggle with China, and
are we? We're gearing up. Are we gearing up? You know, earlier today, I was going over some details that I found fascinating. And I looked up a chart. Let's see, was this the one? It's over here. No? Yeah. Okay, first of all, this is the Chinese exports in 2020 by trade partner. Us at 17.4%, the European Union as a whole at 15.1%, the ASEAN countries 14.8%, Hong Kong, which is weird that it's on because the assertion is that Hong Kong's a part of mainland China, but whatever. It's because they have a financial wall that they so you can do business in Hong Kong and pretend it's not money going to Xinjiang, for example. And then down here you got Japan and South Korea and India, Taiwan, Russia, and Brazil. Russia's at 2% of their exports. All bullets. Anyways, anybody want to guess which direction all of these numbers have gone? Well, I guess this is the share of total exports, but like our individual import of these items, or European Unions or the Asian countries, have they gone up or down since 2020? Any idea? Anybody want to guess? Do you think they're getting more stuff from the crater, but are they getting more stuff since before the pandemic? No. Anybody know what the trajectory is going to be for 2023? Even less. That's why Sean Hannity was showing that moment from the chip presser and none of the shit about chip production in the United States, because we've taken the biggest step towards reshoring chip manufacturing to the United States in our history. All of these are going down. But we're gearing up. Tell us about it, Dinesh. Give us the inside scoop, brother. You gotta be he's clearly gotta be well studied. What did Debbie tell you about China?
Interestingly, this may end up being a struggle that is more important than the struggle with the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was always an economic basket case. And its ability, even though it had good scientists, it could build dangerous weapons, it had to allocate a giant portion of its economy to that. And the economy itself was constantly crumbling. They kept blaming it on the weather and on factors beyond their control, but it was really the communist system of government. Now, in China, we do have a communist system, but we have a communist system weirdly wedded to a market economy. And China,
well, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's neither.
I'm a gigantic economy. I mean, as of last year.
No. China's economy is not gigantic. It's just got a lot of people. America's economy is gigantic because America has 320 million people and twice the GDP, 2.5 times the GDP of China in real numbers, with like a quarter of the human beings. That's a gigantic economy. If you have an economy equivalent to everyone in your country barely scraping by at half the U.S. poverty level, because the average Chinese worker makes $10,000 a year, never mind the people who aren't working, never mind the puffery in their system, and it's, a lot of it's lie. And if you make $400 or less, you are in poverty in China. If you make $401, you are no longer impoverished. Congratulations, 12 more dollars a year. And look at that, magically. Where am I getting the 2.5 times from? The legit 10 trillion of actual import-export in China, and ours approaching 30. It's 25. That's where. And our investments are real. So between our genuine GDP and our investment block, we have 2.5 times the size of the Chinese economy in real numbers. Also, a lot of China's economy, as they've been talking about it, is, how would I put this? Horseshit.
They have a $14 trillion economy. That's smaller than the U.S. economy, but not by that much. It's the second largest.
It's immensely smaller when you have that many more people to feed and have roads for and phone service and airplane towers and fucking dams and water filtration. It's pathetic. Do you understand that when an economy allows people to have a better life, or save some money, or invest some money, or grow or raise their kids in relative comfort in a better situation than they were in? As hard as we struggle with that, we're doing that with twice the economy that China is in terms of, pay scale numbers. And we have 1/4 the people, allegedly, because I don't think they have 1.3 billion. I think that's bullshit. But same thing with Russia. Their numbers are bullshit too. But you understand what I'm saying? If your economy is second in the world to a country that has 1/4 of the same number of people you have, that's terrible.
Economy in the world. And our economy has become, I think in some troubling ways, dependent upon their economy. They have more leverage.
No, it is not. No, by no fucking way is our economy dependent on China.
Over us than we have over them.
Nonsense. This is your average standard bullshit talk over the last 20 years about the Chinese economy versus the American economy. The trade deficit between China and America is all American goods that we offshore over there. They assemble or they make cheaply and send over here. And we sell them at a profit because we have outsourced our factories to China so that work is done there cheaper. But the money on those products worldwide is made in and through the United States. We rely on them for cheap labor. Now, we have been for a long time. Labor costs, China, compared to, there you go. Look at a chart. Is this? Yeah, there you go. So, what have we heard about making stuff in China? Made in China is cheap, right? Make it in China, and you're going to save a bunch of money, and that's why it's profitable to make your stuff over there and ship it over here. Now, never mind the fact that doing it that way has put us all at the effect of COVID, which nobody made a single profit off of anything they made in China in any major way in the last 20 years, considering how many companies it destroyed and how many lives it destroyed through, the loosey-goosey aspect of of how the CCP handled it. Here's the actual cost. This is from 2016 to 2020. This is in US dollars. Manufacturing labor costs per hour for China, Vietnam, and Mexico from 2016 to 2020. What do you see here? Do you see that China has an advantage in cheap labor going forward? Do you think it's going to go back? American companies, if you could make something or have it assembled in Mexico at a cheaper rate than doing it in China, without having to ship it all the way across the fucking Pacific Ocean, never mind doing, business with the CCP and Xinjiang and the slave labor and all that shit, would you do it? Hell, you can make a better rate because of tariffs and other stuff, just making it in the United States. But your next choice is going to be Mexico. The rest of it's going to be Vietnam and other countries. But look at this. You move a factory to Vietnam right now, even with their raising wages since 2020, you're going to pay half your wage cost that you did in China in 2016. And Vietnam currently is not enslaving, sterilizing, or gang raping anyone of measure. Mexico, same deal. And Mexico has a growing young population, as I showed you earlier today if you watched the morning show. So they're going to have workers. China's not. China's working class is aging up. They do not have the children to replace them. They are moving to a service economy. They think they're going to be consumption-based, and they are completely fucking wrong. Meanwhile, Mexico can. If we'd have dumped the money into Mexico, as far as the World Trade Organization and our developing nations funds into Mexico, the way we've done China, they would equal any country in Europe by now. But we chased China with it because they were further behind, and you're talking about millions dying in poverty. Whereas Mexico has its issues, but not on that scale. Not hundreds of millions, over time, 100 million people dying of poverty over decades to come when we intervened in the 90s. And also because it's right there, we don't feel like we have to do much. The Mexican trade and South American trade, we protect all those trade routes with our boats. We also do it around Europe, and we also do it around Africa and Asia. But the minute we stop doing that, which we are stopping, they're fucked. Again, that's why you're going to see a bunch of stuff, like IKEA stuff is now, it used to say made in China on it all over the place. Now, if you go there, a lot of the places, if it's a newer batch of stuff, will say made in the Czech Republic. I wish Trump raped the forced stupidity voice play. Oh yeah, like I'll find that one. They should make an agreement with China to continue this imbalance. They need to buy cars in the U.S. to fill those empty freighters up. No, we just need to move away from it. It's not going to be comfortable, but it's not also going to be this enormous inflationary thing like, well, gosh, if we make it here, or we make it in Mexico, or we make it in Canada, oh shit. How are we, it's going to be, an iPhone will cost, 3 times as much. Bullshit. First of all, they're not made in China. They're assembled in China. They could be assembled in Mexico or Vietnam just as easily. Just take some time to gear up. You need to watch the clip of John Annie talking to Donald Trump about him metaphorically banging his... We did that. We covered that, NFG Mobile. We did that on the show a couple days ago. So, this idea that China is somehow like magically in some sort of arc forward and unstoppable has been a narrative that's been around for a little while. And after I went and visited and I was doing my travel show and I enjoyed, you guys know me. Well, 最喜欢中国的文化. I love Chinese culture. 我也喜欢中国人. I love Chinese people. I really do. But the government's fucked. And they don't know what the hell they're doing. And they want control more than they want the security and the safety and the well-being of their own people. And that's not going to change anytime soon. So these guys have fucked that country into a cocked hat, and it's not stopping. China and U.S. minimum wage are pretty similar. Yeah, except ours is real and theirs is Feng Pi. Is Hal having a stroke at speaking in tongues? If you love Chinese culture, go to Taiwan. Exactly. 谢谢 teacher. I try. So, this notion, this puffery, this bullshit, this shiny nonsense that they were wagging at the world, and everybody was rooting for them. One of the reasons why everybody bought this line from China for so long is because none of us want ill for the people. And it was like, oh, good, they're not going to starve to death. Oh, good, they're going to grow. Oh, good, maybe they'll liberalize because they're getting more modern. But it was all smoke. It was all a lie. And when I went over there to do this travel show, I came back, many people remember this, like while I enjoyed going to a lot of the travel spots that we went to, over time, it's not hard to become completely suspicious of where you're being driven to, where you're being taken, where, if you're going, hey, we're going to go see this site today and do a segment on this. Well, why are we going there? Well, we were supposed to go someplace else, but that fell through, so we're going this place. Well, who said? Well, they were government minders. Well, okay, then they want us to go here, which means everything I'm going to see here is artificially bullshit. And they're trying to keep me from seeing something else because they think I'll report it genuinely or talk about it genuinely, and that'll look bad instead of real, normal. It's no big deal. All countries have shitty spots and shitty times they go through. But face is so important to the CCP, and they can't show any weakness, and yada, yada. So we would go to these places, and I'm like, this is all fucking fake. It looks like cardboard. This is terrible. And it's a shame. So this and this selling this line. Hold on. Where I had this, maybe I put it down here. Hold on. This is long articles. Hold on. That wasn't it. UW funds. That's different shit. I have so much backed up, like stories from when we pull things. Yeah, hold on. Let's go Chinese exports. By the numbers. I think this was it the IMF? See world imports, trade partners. Let's see. See if I can find this number for you, because it was really stark. It was very telling. But every single sector of exports from China has dropped. Every single import in China has gone up. And they just had to lower their interest rate. Let's see, that's 2019. That's going to be a one-note number. I got to see the thing. Let's see. General overview, maybe this. I'm log me in, you stupid. Oh well, I'll get it later. Anyways, we'll continue. I'll get too dragged down into these.
We've also become a technological marvel.
Oh, by the way, no, I did not see the Three Gorges Dam because it's got cracks in it and they wouldn't let us anywhere near it. And I'm sorry, they become a what?
Than we have over them. They've also become a technological marvel, a global leader in artificial intelligence, in biotech, and...
Oh, by the way, no, they haven't. Just because you have scientists who are willing to genetically manipulate embryos to see if they can raise children that are HIV immune against all ethical considerations for what the fuck else it might do to their lives, does that mean you're a leader in it? It means you're a psychopath. And the technological leader stuff, most of the tech is ripped off from other companies. But, I mean, they're filling the sky with space junk.
Space exploration. So, what happens?
Space Yeah, man. Fuck the West and Russia and stuff tracking our space garbage on its way back to Earth. While the U.S. is making our boosters land back at a specific spot, they're just scattering shit all over. But a leader. By the way, you're no longer a developing country if you have a space program. I think that should be a rule. The minute you have a space program, you're no longer a developing nation.
To say that their economy works. But the bigger question is, does their society work? Or is it somehow rent with internal contradictions? Is it bound to collapse? Is it going to go the way of the Soviet Union? And there is a school, well, really two schools of thought in the West, both of which I think are wrong. The first one is that the Chinese economy is destined to implode. That that you cannot wed market systems to a totalitarian government. That's a recipe for automatic failure. Well, the Chinese started this in the 1970s. Here we are almost 50 years later. It hasn't failed. I don't think it's going to fail. And so this automatic collapse theory, although comforting, is at least comforting to China's competitors and adversaries, is, I think, pie in the sky. The other view of the Chinese economy is that the Chinese will start becoming more like us. And this is the theory
That's the one that's been going on for a long time. So, hold on. Back up for a second. I was right. I was typing something and I missed a piece of what he was saying.
Chinese will start becoming more like us. And this is the theory I want to focus on a little bit more. It's the idea that as China gets more prosperous, its citizens will automatically start demanding more political rights. They won't be content merely with economic abundance. They won't find it satisfactory. Hey, I have a bigger apartment. Hey, I have a nicer car. Hey, my kids are now going to college. They have a better future. No, the Chinese are going to say, wait a minute, I want free speech. I want the right to cast a vote. I want to choose my own leaders. And the big question...
Oh, you mean like the Hong Kong people who've gone through all this and ask for that very thing, or maybe the Taiwanese who are Chinese ethnically but live in this country and have developed that very same thing and become one of the most prosperous countries in the world and the most advanced.
It has been an article of faith. It's very tempting for us to believe that liberalism and democracy and modernity and scientific development and economic progress, these are all so tightly linked that they cannot be disentangled. But the Chinese...
Well, but Dinesh, Trump, and QAnon have taught us different.
Challenging this idea, and they're showing that not only can it be challenged, but that these facile equations are not true. Now, I want you to think about a Chinese person living in let's say the 1970s. When I first came to the United States, I had a kind of a good image of China. Why? Because India is really close to China. India has a virtual common border with China, and
a virtual one? They have an actual one. Also, do you still think that?
Chinese people lived a lot like the Indians. The typical Chinese person lived in a completely tiny hovel, a kind of shack. They had no washing machines. They had no modern contrivances.
Conveniences?
Would have to wash their clothes in dirty water. They ate rice and with chopsticks, and they had a paltry, miserable life. So it was.
Yeah. By the way, a lot of people eat rice with chopsticks. Is this? This is Dinesh's. Wait a minute. This is your view of China during that time? Is that what it is? Please tell me this is your perception of China at this point. Hold on.
A kind of shack. They had no...
Hold on.
Close to China. India has a virtual common border with China, and the Chinese people lived a lot like the Indians. The typical Chinese person lived in a completely tiny hovel, a kind of shack.
Hovel.
They had no washing machines. They had no modern...
Yes, it is true in the 70s. Not a lot of Chinese people, not a lot of people worldwide had washing machines. They were relatively new. But please, hovel. A hovel. Hutong is what a lot of people call
contrivances. They, in a sense, would have to wash their clothes in dirty water. They ate rice and with chopsticks, and they had a paltry, miserable life. So it was Hobbesian.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't even have a fork. That's how fucked up it was. And they were eating rice. It's terrible.
Every sense of the term. And these Chinese might have fanatically cheered for Mao's revolution, the Cultural Revolution. Maybe they got disgusted by it toward the end. They were maybe sympathetic in the 80s to Tiananmen Square. But that Chinese person of the 1970s is now older. And what do they see? What they see is written enlarged. What I see in India in a much smaller way. What I see in India every time I go back, every couple of years, is India's better. The roads are cleaner, they're smoother, the airport is better, it's more modern, there are more skyscrapers, they're all new. I see all that. The Chinese see all that times 10. Why? Because the Chinese level of growth has been faster than the Indian, and it has created this gigantic, China has a huge population, gigantic.
Jesus Christ, this dude.
Middle class, upper middle class, and wealthy class. You have all these Chinese billionaires. You have lots of Chinese millionaires.
By the way, you are not a billionaire or millionaire if you cannot leave the country with your money. I think that would. I think we can all agree on that, right? If you can't leave with your shit, it ain't your shit. I'm just saying, right? You know what the difference between an Indian millionaire and a Chinese billionaire is? An Indian millionaire can move to England and spend their money. But who's counting?
You now have
God.
Chinese who are prospering in a way quite comparable to people in Singapore. So the interesting thing here is that a lot of people, libertarians especially, expected that the Chinese were using in a bigger way the same model that brought Singapore and the so-called Asian tigers, the small countries of Asia, to economic success, countries like Taiwan. But no, the Chinese, I think, have a different model. It is a model of
Thank you,
wedding
Sarah.
close and powerful state control over all aspects of your life with a kind of market liberalism. And in Chinese capitalism, the state
Oh, fuck. A, boring. Secondly, talking out of your ass. Thirdly, get to the point.
far from basically saying, you capitalists make us prosperous and we communists will run the country. It's not like that. The state is like, we're going to be a huge investor and we're going to be a regulator. We're going
And a huge owner. What are you talking about?
all the intellectual property. The corporations are sort of doing our bidding, but we, the state, maintain tight control even over them. We maintain tight control over our millionaires and over our billionaires. So this is, well, I suppose you could call it a communist model. It's actually, in some ways, more accurately a fascist model. Fascist, why? Because the essence of fascism is centralized control, but centralized control that weds the state to a
And also, didn't this fucko just tell us how the Chinese are going to be rushing ahead of us? The title of this continues to approach modernization without westernization. They're getting away with it. I showed this fucking hell this morning. Here's what you get. Here's what you get. Hold on. Chinese demolition buildings. Fucking hell. There you go. That's what you get. There's your modernization. We built these brand new modern apartment buildings. We built a bunch of them. Bye. Sure, they sat half empty for 7 years, and each apartment in each of those buildings represents the total life savings of an entire family, not just mom, dad, and the kid, but the extended family as well, who they borrowed from to get the exorbitant down payment. Also, the bank isn't paying them back. I'm sorry, but go ahead. Modernization.
Private sector, in which the private sector operates semi-autonomously, but is nevertheless, in the end, at the behest and control of the state. So what I'm getting at, and I'll talk more about this in future podcasts, is just that
Oh, God, please don't.
ideas about China are Western ideas. They are projected onto China. They don't reflect the real China. I don't think they reflect Chinese psychology. And while they might reflect Western history, they don't necessarily reflect.
By the way, this is a CCP talking point. Because fuck you, the Taiwanese do just fine deciding their own fate and building their own government. They're doing fantastic. And there's not some sort of genetic difference between the Taiwanese and the Chinese. So fuck you. They all have saying that the Chinese somehow magically don't have the capacity for wanting to be in charge of their own lives, or well, the rest of us are human, but the Chinese, they're kind of like bees. You know what I mean? They don't want to live as their own people. They'd much rather have a queen, like the alien xenomorphs. You know what I mean? Get the fuck out of here.
World history. The Chinese are attempting modernization without westernization, and so far, they're getting away with it.
And again, they're getting away with it. He ends on that phrase. That's the line at the tail end of this.